A giant opportunity.
From my perspective, we had some chances that we missed on some things.
To power their playoff push.
Definitely wanted to come up here and get the win, so it's definitely a lot of mixed emotions right now.
But an ending that just didn't feel right.
It's a little weird, like after the game, you don't really know what to do next. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody, even the fans were still standing in the stands like, we go to PKs or what do we do? But,
I just don't understand how 5.5 hours of football can lead in a tie. I mean, hopefully it's something that moving forward the league looks at. I just don't think an NFL game should be able to end in a tie.
First time I ever, had a tie game. So it's kind of like a mellow vibe,
Now a week off and looking ahead to the tiebreaker in 2 weeks.
We played these guys in 14 days.
So hopefully, we can have a better outcome on that game.
I mean, look, I'm going to need the fans of the Commanders to really show out this next game. I'm going to provide as many free tickets as I can. We need everybody there. This game could be the season. So we need full support. We need that stadium rocking.
On Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus.
The man is back, y'all. We're back. Call your mama, call your daddy. We're back and we're back. We're back. Tony McGee, back, y'all. We're back. Tony McGee. Come on. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee, Pro Football Plus. Tony McGee.
Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. Well, let's stop right here. We brought in two people that we want you to be able to meet. One is from New England, one is Washington. Both of them are Super Bowl champions, and they'll tell you how to get to the Super Bowl. But for all you people with that bulldog frown on your face that's unhappy because Washington tied the game, one thing you need to realize, winning or tying is better than losing. When we come back, you're going to straighten up your face. We're going to get some food, and you're going to come back, and we're going to have a good show. We'll be back in a moment.
What's up?
Now, I know we could be a lot happier, and everyone would say if we had won that game. But one thing you have to realize, what's up now? We're still in the chase for the playoffs, and that's a big thing. So what do you do when you're in the chase for a playoff? You go and get a couple of guys, 2 or 3 at the most, that have been there before, been to the big game, know how to win. And I tell you what, both of them were on teams that I played with, so this is a residual of me being on the team is the reason they went to the Super Bowl. But what we'll do is let Donna introduce us. You need a team, Donna. Who's our team this week? Talk to me.
Well, Tony, I got my arms folded right now because I'm kind of a little mad about that tie. Anyway, I don't even care, like you said, as far as it's not a loss, but they had opportunity. But let me bring in the guests first. We've got Fred Stokes, Washington Redskins, won a Super Bowl with them, back with us for the first time. And welcome, Fred. And then we've got Cal Arrington, played for a number of teams, won a Super Bowl with the New England Patriots. And I mean, it was already some heated discussions going on between Fred and Cal before we got on talking about all these quarterback stuff. But you know what, Tony? We can talk about the quarterback right now with the Washington Commanders.
Oh, you just gonna drop Alex and G Money, huh?
Come on, I'm sorry.
We got Alex. And we got the G. I learned a new name for him today. G Money. That's this. What's up, guys?
Good to be here.
Hey, man, you can get a chance to see your guy here. Fred Stokes was telling us a lot about what he's doing now and everything. But let's talk about this team. Everyone's all upset. They did not win the game. Yes, they did tie in the same time. I thought they would beat the Giants. But one thing about it, right now, they're only a half a game out of first place. And everything counts going down the line. G, what do you think?
Well, I'm glad it was a tie instead of a loss. I agree with you there. But they did have ample opportunity to win that football game. But like you said, it's a tie. They come back. They got to, they come back. They play them next. They win. They got a game up on them. So that's the way it works.
But you've been watching football, Fred.
Wait a minute. You know what? When I went into that locker room, this is the first time I saw that the players were really upset about they didn't lose, but they tied. And the way they were feeling, it was like a loss to them because they were voicing the fact that they had every opportunity to win this game in regulation, and they also had an opportunity to win it in OT and didn't get it done. And even though they're right there with the Giants, to think about if they had won that game, they would have been up and going down the stretch. When you look at playing the Giants again, when you look at playing Dallas, the last game of the season, and then you got Cleveland and the 49ers, this was almost like one of those must wins that they needed to win and not tie with the Giants. And that's the reason why I'm kind of like upset with the players that they did not win this game. And Coach Rivera talked about being upset because they made too many mistakes. They had penalties, 7 penalties for 50-some yards. And to me, Tony, the offensive line digressed. This is the first time to me that they've struggled in about 5 or 6 games.
And if you take a look at it, one thing has to happen. Cal, you play defense, and you know what happens when you get a team that can't score over 17 or 20 points. You know you got an opportunity, and the same thing with you, Fred. And one thing that that's not happening right now is this offense is not scoring the way they should be scoring. Now we know Heineke. He's going to give you 50. He's going to give you 50 good, 50 bad, but at the same time, he's winning. We know we got great wide receivers. We got Mr. Robinson running the ball. And I tell you what, we got that going, but that offensive line struggled somewhat. I'm going to jump from you, Cal, to Fred. When you look at this offensive line, you've seen improvement, but last week they seemed, as Donna stated, the grass.
You know what, man, Tony, I enjoyed, and thank you guys for having me on the show too, but, I enjoyed the time that we were up there for the Legends weekend, man, getting a chance to see all of those guys from the 3 Super Bowls we had. And you talk about offensive line, really 2 things happen for me, and it hasn't changed. Defense wins championships, offense put butts in the seats, if you will. I mean, Gary, Ricky, Art, those guys, running up down the field, Ernest Biner, Gerald Riggs, Ricky Irvin, the tailback. We had a lot of high-powered stuff going on offense, but it took our defense. So, yeah, you may have a really, really good, solid offensive line, but for me, man, it boils down to defense. Donna talked about low-scoring games, I think it was, but I remember, we lost a game back when I was with the Rams to Atlanta Falcons 8-5. That's a defensive game, and you don't care whether I think somebody said, you don't care whether you win or tie. I think Gary said it. You just want to lose. I bet you they'd have had a different look on their faces if they'd have lost that game. I guarantee you that.
I got a little sidebar here, Fred, before I jump off of you. When you were with the Rams, who was your defensive coach there?
The defensive coordinator at that time was
Fritz Sherman.
Fritz Sherman, yeah, because I think his son played at Vanderbilt with my son.
That is the man that recruited me to Wyoming and coached me in New England.
Man, I thought that dude was crazy, man. But you're right, Tony. I thought he was crazy. But it does take defenses. And sure, even when we was back for the Legends weekend, they showed all these highlights of Gary and Art and Rick and those guys and Doug and Joe Thies. And I'm like, where the defense at? I mean, how did those guys get the championship without the defense? Come on now. I'm gonna be a little biased here. I mean, Kyle can say it too. He was defense.
And if you notice, G, everybody on the day is defense. So you, Don, Alex, you going to go both ways.
I'm not saying a word. I'm in total agreement.
Gary, you're in trouble if you're relying on Donna and I to be your offense.
Y'all gotta hold the line for me. You can't let him get hit on the 2-yard line like the offensive line allowed Heineke to get that way. Defensive back, Cal, if you take a look at this tape, and I know you going back to when you and New England were growing and you were getting better and better. Do you see any similarities with this team growing? I know they've won 6 out of 7. They've tied 1. They seem to be doing well, but there seems to be something missing. And I think it's offensively not getting enough points.
Well, you know what? I'm going to take a step back real quick, Tony, if you don't mind. Well, first of all, thank you guys as well for having me on. Donna mentioned that she was mad at the players. I'm mad at the system. This is America. We don't do ties. But we need to know who won and who lost. Out of the only ties we do is Windsor or double Windsor. That's the only ties we do here in America. I'm just saying the competition committee need to take a look at that. But to your point, your question, Tony. There's a lot of similarities with this defense and the defensive schemes. Coaches and players I played with up in New England. Fred mentioned the defense win championships. I think this defense has they have the talent. I mean, that front 5 is as talented as they come. That's the anchor of that defense, and they give the guys on the back end a lot of confidence to play with. I mean, you've seen it. The way the secondary started the season. I mean, it's been they flipped the switch. It's been a turnaround, complete 180. And that defense, you game in and game out, they'll keep you in the game. I mean, that defense is a contention to win in the game. So I mean, I think they have what it takes. The game that they tied with New York. If I could just real quick, I think it's almost. If you ask me, I think it's almost poetic and justified that game ended in the tie because both teams landed some blows. Washington early, New York rallied back and took the lead and the momentum down the stretch. The Commanders had some late game heroics, to send it into overtime. Even before they got to overtime, both teams had opportunities to win that game, and as well as in overtime as well, like Fred or Gary had mentioned. And I think, but this is going to definitely set up a great rematch. And I saw that they flexed the game already to a Sunday night game, and so as with a lot of implications on the line, it should be a great showdown coming in 2 weeks.
Well, Donna, you was talking about how disappointed you are and everything. And one thing that you seem to be more disappointed in is how the line is not doing as well as they should be doing. They're doing better on run blocking, but they're still having a problem with pass. Going on down with this cold weather coming and everything, do you see this line as being something that may hinder this team?
Well, no, I don't know if it's so much the line, as Cal alluded, is as far as the system somewhat. And when we talk about Heineke, like you said, Tony, it's 50-50 with him. But I saw in that Giants game on Sunday, he was all over the place with his balls. I mean, high balls. And then the first quarter, the first play, almost, he had Logan Thomas open for a wide open touchdown. All he had to do was walk it in. And then Terry McLaurin and Dotson, those balls they were catching them behind. I mean, they were just making some great catches because the balls were behind them. And that Dotson touchdown to tie it up, he just put a basketball twirl move, Tony. But I think the offensive line, it goes with, they're better with their run blocking, but they've got to get better with the pass blocking also. But I think Heineke has to get better because I know everybody talks about that, the points is low scoring points. But when you look at the teams that they've got to play going forward, those teams put points up on the board, and Washington is going to have to put more points up on the board. But Tony, before we move on, let's go to the locker room and you can hear what they had to say about this game. And then you can come back and hear and talk a little bit more about that game coming up.
We overthrow a couple guys. We miss a couple blocks, stuff like that. I mean, those are things that we got to get shored up. We got to get them fixed and get them ready to go. We played these guys in 14 days.
I think we had an opportunity to just try to win that game, honestly. Offensively, I think we could do a better job of just not shooting ourselves in the foot with those some of the penalties and the negative plays and just being better in the red zone. They're a great defense. They're very aggressive.
But, at the end of the day, we didn't hurt ourselves in the standings when I say that. Obviously, we wish we could play a lot better. I think as a defense, in the first half we just gave away too many things. Credit to them. They're phenomenal players. But we just got to be a little more disciplined. So.
Hey, Brian, is it frustrated because of the fact that you all had opportunities out there to get this win?
Oh, we had several opportunities. Just we got to clean it up. We got to do better in those situations in the game. And I feel like, this team has been great with responding the whole year.
Is it positive that you all could take from this game, even though it was a tie?
We did a lot of great things in the game. We got a lot of great things to, look forward to. Great things to see on film. But we just got to continue to work and try to make the progress for next game.
How physical was it out there for you?
It was very physical today. I can say that. We was expecting that divisional game. Team who struggled a little bit lately. We expected they was going to play hard, and that's what they did.
I mean, it's a little frustrating just because we didn't get the dub, but we just got to watch the film, and make the corrections. So take this bye week, take care of our body, and then come back and play them again.
Looking at your face, you can tell the frustration, the disappointment, just by looking at you right now.
I wouldn't say like frustration and disappointment. I definitely, I wouldn't say I had a good game from my standpoint. There's some stuff that I'm gonna go and watch film and learn from, but definitely a lot of confusion in my body right now.
Yeah, but What can you take from this to turn the tables come next time?
We just gotta go, break down the film, diagnose it, and just improve. It's definitely a game that I feel like we could have came over with.
Donna, when you take a look at that, and we're going to have to take a quick break right now, but you can see that they're genuinely unhappy with, but at the same time, they know it's some hope there. And Alex, when we come back, I want you to tell me about Payne and Allen. What do you see with them? They're two different ball players this year than they were last year. And when we come back, I tell you what, we'll be talking about a win. We'll be back in a moment. When we left, I was telling you about the defensive tackles, the two big guys in the middle. And I'm going to go to Alex Parker right now. Alex, you've watched this team for years, even back when we were the Redskins and everything. You've watched these two guys grow. And it seems as though, to me, they're leading the team from the defensive tackle position. They're playing very well, Payne and Allen. They may have had their differences last year, but this year, those guys, their game is on point.
Tony, I agree with you, and I've got to agree with you because we don't have a better person. We have two wonderful folks on this show to talk about defensive linemen. That's you and Fred Stokes. Listen, I don't think it's a bad thing if a team's identity starts in the trenches. Maybe on this team, it's not the offensive line, which is up and down, but defensively, the other team coming in knows they got to deal with those guys up front, and that's not going to be an easy thing. So these two guys, Payne and Allen, and the rest of them, frankly, have gotten better. Sweat, I'm putting Sweat in there. Certainly, they've grown from last year. And again, they've sort of proven to be, they've given this team an identity. And they're tough and they're hard-nosed. And it's NFC East like we knew it back in the day. So in terms of starters, they've got that going for them. And they will lead that defense. And frankly, I think the team as a whole, they're not the only great thing about this team. Wide receivers have been great. I got to give Gary credit. 3 months ago, we started doing the show. And Gary says these guys remind him of the posse. There is no higher compliment. Okay? There is no higher compliment. But Gary, I'm with you. They're deep. That we know what McLaurin can do. That play that Dotson made yesterday was insane. And I'm starting to believe they don't have rings like you and Art and Ricky do, okay? When they get a ring, then I'll go all the way. But you're getting me there, Gary Clark, on your receivers.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, to be that deep, again, like I've been saying, your fifth receiver could start on any other team. That's just strong. I mean, that's strong. Like, with Samuels coming in, making the late game plays. I mean, that's strong. He's their third wideout, fourth wideout, however you ever look at it, between him and Brown, right? So it's just strong the way that they're able to make plays when they need to. What I see, the biggest concern with this team I see right now, though, it's quite honestly, is special teams. Don't get me wrong. The punter's great. The field goal kicker's great. But the return game is horrible. It's horrible. Like, they have no chance on the return game. And that you can't have. You want to be able to have a big play at any moment from any side of the ball, whether it's the defense making a big play, the offense making a big play, or special teams making a big play. And we take away the field goal and the punting portion away, we have no big play potential. I don't see anything happening whatsoever. I mean, it's just, to me, it's ridiculous. I mean, to get the penalties hurt us, against the Giants as well on the special teams. Each time they put them back on, like, inside the 10-yard line. They started inside the 10-yard line when they could have been at the 20, 30, 35-yard line. Makes no sense to me.
And one guy made back-to-back penalties on special teams. I'm not going to call his name, though.
Horrible.
Well, you know what, Donna? We know you just waiting. Go on and say it. Ever since Hopkins left, they haven't been good. Go on and say it.
No, Tony. I mean, the field goal kicking was good. I mean, even though he missed one in the Giants game, but that has been solid. Like Gary said, it's the return game and everything that has been hurting them. They haven't found anybody to do that job. But Tony, going back a little bit to the defense, let me give you a stat right here. Washington's defense has allowed 24 fewer points for the 9th straight game, which is the longest active streak in the NFC. I mean, they're creating as far as limiting the points, but this defense is forcing turnovers too. Every game you look, they're creating a turnover that's helping that other side of the ball. But Gary, could you just talk a little bit, or anybody could jump in? Coach Rivera talked about Heineke as far as he's a quarterback that's going to move around a whole bunch. But what he's seeing this year as far as the wide receivers, you said something, I think, earlier during the year or last year that the wide receivers have to keep moving and if the quarterback is moving around. And he said that this is one thing that the receivers are doing now. They're keeping, when something breaks down, they continue to move on the field to get open where Heineke has a chance to complete a pass or something. Is that something you seeing more of this year too?
Yeah, and quite honestly, receivers could do that a little better, honestly. They really could, because when you see Heineke scrambling, for example, he breaks the pocket and he scrambles left, and they're all running towards the sideline, but they're covered running towards the sideline. The best thing to do is give a hand to the opposite side and let them know that you're coming back, and then go back and let them throw back against the grain, because that's what happened. A lot of times they couldn't get a pass completed because they're all running to the same place. He's scrambling left, they're all running left, but the DBs are right there with him. He's not going to throw the ball then. He doesn't have the confidence to throw the ball then. So just give a hand out, let them know that you're going back the other way, and now he has a target to throw at. Once they do that, they'll be even better at what they're doing. I mean, they really will be, because that can extend plays to make big plays. Number 10, Samuels, he understands that he did that one time late in the game that allowed Heineke to complete a pass, because you also have to help your quarterback out, especially when right now he's still a young quarterback. He's still learning, and you still need to help your quarterback out when he's in this learning situation. I mean, it's his second year in the league. Come on now. So he's still learning what he needs to do, and you got to be able to help him and make him shine as well.
And Gary,
they have to get familiar with playing with each other, and they haven't done that. And speaking of that, Fred, I want to ask you something. What do you do now when Chase is ready to come back? You got a defensive line that's playing excellent. You got a defense that's only giving up over 20 points in 9 games, and he's coming back. Chase Young, supposedly your best player, but you've seen that the other players are really playing well. What do you do right now? Do you put him in there? Do you use him in passing situations? How do you work that in?
Well, I think you got to, first answer that question, Tony. You got to put him in. I mean, when you got a superstar, you got to get them on the field as quick as possible and up to speed as quick as possible. I'm sure he's been doing some things in practice that has built not only his confidence up, but his confidence in the coaches and his teammates as well, to say, hey, he can get back in here and be competitive and can contribute at a high level. I mean, I look at it like a NASCAR event, man. Those cars get off the track, they go to their speed guys, they change those tires, they fill that car with gas or whatever's necessary, and they got to get it back on the track as quick as possible. And Chase is in that position. And also, too, I just want to reference back to what Gary said about special teams. I was listening to sports yesterday, and I forget which team it was, but they said something like, and you guys can quote me or maybe find it. I was trying to search for it, but one special teams, their team scored like 24 points or 21 points. I remember the great Wayne Sevier, who was our special teams coach when I was playing with Washington. He said that, there's offense, defense, and special teams, those 3 phases of the game. And it's a team game. I don't care how great your quarterback is. I don't care how great your receivers is. And we had some great ones in Gary and Ricky and Art, and even back when Joe and Doug won their Super Bowls. But you got to have a team. And on special teams, Wayne used to say, hey, guys, we want our special teams to at least have a game that we win as a team that we can say we would not have won had the special teams not contributed in the punt, kickoff, block a punt, Brian Mitchell or somebody return a punt all the way back. Somewhere your offense and defense going to need a game that your special teams has to win, because offense is not doing well, defense is not doing well. And to Gary's point, you can't have your special teams just stink up the place. Even if Chase come back and play great, somewhere along the line, you got to have everybody as a team contribute. That's why it's a team game. It's not an individual game. I don't care how great you think your players are. It's a team game.
And Cal, if you look around the league, and maybe that's why everyone's saying the games are so boring right now, and there's only about 10 good teams. Is this what Fred said? Maybe that all facets of all the teams are not very good right now. You got a few teams that has everything, and a few teams that have nothing.
Well, I think about that, Tony. I feel like it's a changing of the guard, though. If you look at it, there's a lot of young QBs out there, primarily in the AFC. Just up and coming. So really just have your popcorn ready for that conference for years to come. You got your Tom Brady's, your Aaron Rodgers. They kind of got one foot in, one foot out the door right now, and they're on the back end of their career. So that's kind of what you're seeing right now in the NFL around the league. But I feel there's a few interesting points that I wanted to touch on. One concerning the special teams. You guys were mentioning that they haven't had a prolific return game in quite some time, and that is true. They haven't had a prolific returner in quite some time. Blocking and schemes and all that are important, but you got a talented guy like a Brian Mitchell, a Santana Moss, a Dante Hall,
Devin Hester,
Patterson, guys like that. They could just make something out of nothing. So I would like to see them try to find a guy like that in the next few years to come. I think Alex mentioned something about in the trenches, and that is the heart. He hit the nail on the head as far as everything. That one thing Bill will always say, that is the character of your football team. Is how tough you are as a football team. It starts in the trenches. We know that's offensive line as well as defensive line. And so yeah. But I think just moving forward, I think the team has what it takes, and it's just great to talk about meaningful football this late in the season when it comes to the Washington Commanders.
Say that again.
That'll be a consistent thing for years to come.
Okay, Tony. Well, we got all these great defensive minds on here. You, Fred, Cal, but nobody has mentioned Daniel Jones that creates havoc every time they play the Giants. He got loose a combination of times. The running game, that's something that this defense did not do a good job against the Giants as far as stopping their running game, stopping Daniel Jones, Tony. So what do you see right there as far as correcting that issue when they play them 2 weeks from now?
What you have to do is correct the run. You can't let them run on you. And if you look at this team, even though we say, and we have said that they've been playing well, and they have been playing well, but if you look at each and every game, they got 3 or 4 or 5 where they allow a team to get big games running or passing. They will have to clean that up. But you have to clean up the running game first. And the reason they were getting killed is they were hitting that 6 and 7 hole. And that means that the outside man, which is either linebacker or defensive end, wasn't turning it in with his inside shoulder the way he's supposed to and keep the play with inside of him so the inside defense can help. They will have to work on that, and that's been a problem. And that's one thing that they will work on. But as far as stopping the run, they have to stop those big runs that they are allowing each and every game. Now, when you talk about one thing, Fred, I heard you say something. I know we're talking defense, but you said you lived on the farm with goats and you ain't seen no real goats in this league. Explain to me what you mean. I'm a schoolboy trying to learn his books. I don't know what you mean there. Do you mean Brady, he's not the GOAT?
Well, see, when you say that, Tony, you're saying goats, right? With an S. Goats, yes. Tom Brady, Dan Marino, we had quarterbacks in Washington. Doug Williams, I thought was one of the best quarterbacks. When I got there, I wish I could have played with him. I know Gary caught balls with him. But when I got to Washington, we had a training camp, and Gary was Doug was throwing balls to Gary and Ricky and Art. And man, he was dropping balls in a bucket. No matter he was great, but there's no GOAT. There's no greatest of all time quarterback. Without Gary, Ricky, and Art on my team, I'm just talking about those guys. Mark Rippon was a really good quarterback, and he won a Super Bowl, but he only got sacked 7 times or something in 19 games. Man, you always talk about Rick putting his jersey back in the locker when he got through playing games because he wasn't even dirty. So Tom Brady is a really, 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 and that's what I'm referencing, great quarterback. And Kyle, you played with him, but you take away from that mindless thing that the Seahawks did. I don't know what the heck they were drinking, smoking, snorting, or what. When you got the best running back in the league, I would have went to the huddle and said, hey, you getting the ball 3 times. We're going to go left, we're going to go right, and we're going to go one up the middle. If you can't score beast mode, we don't need to win the Super Bowl. But to throw a ball, and then you take the Atlanta Falcons, they're up 25-3. Come on, baby. The
Hey,
GOAT.
Cal,
That's
don't
two
let him
Super
get
Bowls.
away with that.
Wait. We gotta take a break.
The more Fred talk, the more he's gonna make my argument for me. So I'm gonna just keep letting him talk.
But here's the thing, though. You think if Tom Brady was sitting on the sideline with his
Atlanta
helmet.
was up by how many you said?
Tom Brady was sitting on the sideline with his helmet, like you. Okay. Think about this, guys. All of us in the real talk. Gary, no, he's very competitive. I won't even talk about my man G Money, but you got the best running back in the daggum NFL, probably one of the greatest that he could be listed if he stayed and stayed healthy. And you on the 2-yard line. Come on, baby. What's the chances of not scoring? And
Well,
it's second and go.
You see that all the time, Fred. You see coaches would like to play chess instead of checkers at times. You know, that's the one time they try to get cute and it just didn't work for them. So,
all right, fans, we're going to come back.
What's the old saying, Fred? They don't
act. We're going to come back and let Cal get his saying in because we've had this conversation.
I'm just saying. Don't let him get away. My man got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them things.
Hey, Cal, I got to go with Fred on that one.
You mentioned Dan Marino. He ain't get one.
And the first player he called when he got to Tampa, the first phone call he made when he got to Tampa was Gronk. He was like, I can't do it without you, Gronk. He wanted to call Amendola and that offensive line he got. Nobody can name the offensive line that was blocking for Tom Brady, but they can tell you who was in Washington. We had the Hogs, baby. Come on now. Come on.
When it comes to football players and legacy, how is it always debated? It's going to come down to the hardware, right? I mean, he got more championship rings than most franchises. You know what I'm saying? He got more championship rings than the Cowboys got, a playoff wins in the past.
We can't let this one go. When we come back, we'll finish this conversation. Is he a GOAT or is he a lamb? We'll be back in a moment. Well, when we left, respectively disagreeing was a couple of the guys on the show about who is the GOAT and who is the lamb. Now, I played with both teams, so I'm non-partisan in this whole thing. But, Kyle, I got to give you equal opportunity since Fred had this. This is not a sidebar. Sir, could we get your testimony right now?
I'm saying I get it's hard to have that conversation, have that debate. There's so many talented players outside of just quarterbacks, to come in. So you think like guys like Lawrence Taylor. I mean, the guy, what he would go out there and what he said, do drugs before the game, during the game sometimes. I mean, do all type of things that, I wouldn't recommend, I wouldn't do, but still go out there and just, be one of the best defensive players to ever play the game. But when you're talking Tom Brady, he's just, he's just a generational player. Not only a generational player, but just generations to come type player. We'll never see another Tom Brady, and maybe, and not in my lifetime. Not in our lifetime. I don't think, I wouldn't say, for him to go out there and have 7 championships. I mean, that's a lot. Like, so he has more than most franchises have. All by himself. So I mean, we're judged on our hardware. That's all I'm saying. Get all the players, and myself, Fred, it, Gary knows it, and when you got 7 of them, and I'm saying, man, like who else comes close?
Okay. You judging him on hardware. He's the GOAT on hardware. Having 7 Super Bowl rings may not be equal in our lifetime or our grandkids and their kids' lifetime. 7 Super Bowl rings, but when you say the GOAT as a player, Tom Brady only plays. Think about the percentage of time a quarterback is on the field. He can't do anything until the center gives him that ball. I travel around and speak all over the country, and I ask kids when they talk about football, ask people, I say, name the center, name the offensive line for the New England Patriots. Take your time, name it. And only diehard fans of New England can name the people who are protecting the quarterback. We have the Hogs. We have the Hogs. They don't have the guys in New England. But if you talk about Super Bowl rings, yes, GOAT status. But when you talk about GOAT as a player, you think about a player who can change the game. Like you mentioned, Lawrence Taylor. Think about LeBron James. They're playing the Golden State Warriors. He turns the ball over, or somebody turns the ball over. He could have given up. He gets up, goes down the field, and blocks. I can't think of his name now. Blocks the shot. Iguodala blocks the shot. They win the championship. That's a GOAT move. Tom Brady was sitting on the bench, and the Seahawks was over there playing, smoking, snorting. I don't know what they were doing anyway. But they decided to just, hey, what if we just throw the ball down here and be cute, as you said, Cal? And cute got them home. And Tom Brady gets another Super Bowl ring, and he has 7 GOAT status, but he ain't the GOAT in a player. I was raised with goats. I know what goats look like.
Fred, I'll take your argument. I'll take your argument, Fred, and I will raise you reality. Who's the most important football player on that team, on a football team? It's
wide receivers. Wide receivers.
It's the quarterback position.
Wide receivers.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's the defensive ends.
No, it's definitely. The
If
receivers make the QB. Let's not get it straight. I catch a 10-yard route and I take it 80 yards. I'm sorry, the QB had nothing to do with that.
Booyah!
You got certain QBs like Trent Gilbert, the game manager who will be, the recipient of a championship football team. But when you got 7 of them, I'm just saying it's a lot of timing, preparation. I mean, the man, you talk about sacrificing his body.
He had a great line. He had a great line on both of those.
The man sacrificed his marriage. You know what I mean? What more you want from the man, Fred?
But you know what comes home?
Hey, go back to Gary. I saw the play, Gary. It was a highlight. If you look at the highlight they showed of our Super Bowl, I don't know about the others with Doug and Theismann, but there's a highlight with Gary catching the ball. I think he's running from right to left on the screen. He has to break a couple of tackles. He spun around somewhere, did something. And I'm just using Gary because he's here. And then he takes the ball and scores with it. Rip threw the ball to Gary. Now, if Gary gets tackled, that's a 15, 20-yard pass, right? It adds to his stat sheet. But now Rip throws 7 that pass and scored. He got 3 touchdown passes. But Gary had to battle to get that. So when I say GOAT status, Cal, and whoever's listening, the guys out there listening to this audience, it's meaning that individual changed the game on different aspects of the game, not just one play. You got receivers, DBs, you got defense, you got offense. It's a team concept, and that's where I'm sticking at. Yes, Tom Brady has GOAT status.
You just said what I wanted to say.
Go ahead, Tony. Y'all all tied. Y'all got a tie today.
We don't do ties. We don't do ties in America.
Y'all got a tie just like the Washington Commanders and the Giants. But let's go around the league a little bit because there was some quarterbacks that was injured on Sunday. Let's start with Baltimore, Lamar Jackson. It's a knee injury, but they're saying that it's not serious. He could possibly play, but he's not going to be 100%. But then the 49ers lose their quarterback for the season, Jimmy Garoppolo. So what does that mean for these two teams? Because I know Tony said the 49ers was the team to watch. Are they still the team to watch? And although Baltimore is leading that division, what does that do for them not having Lamar Jackson 100%? Anybody can jump in.
Yeah, on both of those situations, I'll answer on that because, as I said, San Francisco will be a hard team to beat if they stay healthy. That's been the one thing that's happened to them the last few years, continue to happen. They lost their quarterback, but the young man came in, and he really showed that he got cold water in his veins because he was throwing it in there. But at the same time, without a experienced quarterback, they're going to have a problem. But if you look around the league now, if you go to Baltimore, I don't care if that young man has just got an injury that's going to last a week. That affects that whole team because he's that important. You look at Kansas City, if he gets hurt. So when we're talking about GOATs, and I'm going to kind of end that conversation, you're right. You're right. You're the GOAT in basketball, right? Okay.
You like the GOAT on Fred's farm. You're that GOAT on Fred's farm.
You're that GOAT.
The lamb. But if you look at it and you take a look at that, one thing you guys were all saying, Fred was talking about how the quarterback can't do it without the ball. And then Kyle was talking about how that quarterback made the big plays. And then someone was talking about the offensive line. So really what you're saying, if you want a Super Bowl fan, you got to have a team. You may have a goat on it, but you got other farm animals. Old McDonald had a farm. And that's what you need. And now we're looking at this, it's going to be a big change around the league. And right now, those goats that's out there, they are getting old. They're turning into sheep. There's some other goats out there right now. So we might as well look at it and going around the league. Right now, anybody tell me, who do you think will be in the Super Bowl? We were talking Buffalo, but they falls off every time. Now we got an injury in Baltimore. Now we got an injury in the 49ers. Now we got the GOAT playing like he doesn't know what he's doing at the time. So where are we going with this? What team stands out? What team stands out to you guys?
Injury shouldn't matter, though, guys. Injury shouldn't matter. It really shouldn't. If your team's done what they're supposed to do, if they've put the right team together, your backup should be as good or better than your starter. Just what it should be.
Not at the quarterback position.
Just what it should be. I mean, I'll prove you wrong. I win my first Super Bowl with our backup quarterback coming in and taking charge of the game. We get Doug Williams. He didn't start off the season as a starter. Jay Schroeder did. But Doug came in later on. And quite honestly, the backup quarterback put up the most impressive quarter ever in Super Bowl history.
Ever. Gary.
When Lamar Jackson got hurt last year, we had Baltimore playoff chances.
And if Joe wouldn't have called off the dogs, we would have scored 65, 70 points on those motherfuckers.
When Lamar Jackson got hurt last year, what happened to their playoff chances? They was done.
I mean, I'm just telling you right now, like, I can put Brady on a certain team, and I love Tom. That's the case.
Yeah. This is no knock on Tom.
I don't ever bet against Brady, ever.
Never.
But I can put Brady on the team where the line is not solid. Brady doesn't even exist.
Nope.
The line's not solid. Your quarterback doesn't even exist. It's just what it is. We can say all we want to. Don't get me wrong. I love Brady. I will never bet against Brady, no matter what.
And Gary, you got a great point. Think about the way the systems is now. Darryl Green, if you talk to the great Darryl Green, played 20 years. Darryl Green talked about, and he and I were on the interview together. Darryl Green talked about at every play, and Kyle, you played every play on defense, and the defensive back, there are holes. Whether you're playing quarters, whether you're playing man, whether you're playing zone, there are holes. But back in the old days, when you had the shutdown corners, when they came up with the Mel Blount rule, and Gary knows when you got a corner pressing you and those guys picking you out man to man, it's harder to get those passes. Yes, but now the way the offense, and you said it too, Kyle, is systems. But now there's holes everywhere, and quarterbacks that are great finding those holes, they're really moving the ball down the field. I love the team up, and I love Tom too in terms of a player. He's a great competitor, and I don't bet against him because he's a competitor.
Y'all talk about a couple.
But wait, we're gonna have to take a break. Whoa! We're gonna have to take a break.
Tom and Montana are the goats.
Everybody cool down.
Both of those guys right together. Go to quarterback.
Thank you, Tony. Tony, they need to take a deep breath.
Everybody take a deep breath.
Time out. I'm throwing the flag on all of you all.
I'm just wondering why Fred said that Gary could play and Cal played defense and everything. He never mentioned me. I played with your grandfather. We'll be back in a moment.
All right, guys, we are coming to the home stretch. Our last two exercises that we have. This one right here is called incline press, working your chest, your upper chest. And it's called single, double. 1 down, 2 down. I'm sorry, 2 down. 1 down, the other one down, both down. Again, I don't want it to be fast. And down. Again, make sure you breathe it. All right.
Again, Tony, you don't know nothing about this.
Stay up. That's what
no.
Oh.
Yep. So it's 1 down, the other one down, 2 down. All right. Oh, wait, let me start. And go. 1, 2, and 3. There you go. There you go. Is that weight good?
Yep.
I love this one. We do this one also when we in flat as well. Sometimes we go double. We're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That rhythm. And stop. Rest.
Okay, I see y'all all got jokes as Ricky was trying to get us.
I was about to call you Woman King.
I see y'all all laughing with jokes, but I didn't see any of you all working out. But you know
I'm
what?
going after this set. I'm finna go do that 1 down, 2 down. I'm going right now. I was at the gym getting rid of
but hey, Fred, don't use paperweights like Donna. Use some real ones, okay?
I was gonna say Paolo Davis ain't got nothing on you.
Call you out, but you know what? We had such a heated discussion about around the the NFL. And two teams we haven't mentioned much about is the Lions and the Bengals. The Bengals, upset the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm still thinking that the Kansas City Chiefs is right in there. But Alex, talk to me about those two teams, because if people don't watch out, they'll be snuck up on someone.
I especially sort of believe in the Cincinnati Bengals. Tony and everybody, one of our first shows, we had to say who we thought was going to be in the Super Bowl. And I said the Bengals, and some folks were like, nah, no way. A, they got there last year. B, Joe Burrow is really good. I don't know if he's Tom Brady GOAT, good. Kyle Arrington, I'm with you. Brady's the GOAT. That's for another show. They've got Kansas City's number for whatever reason. They beat them Sunday. I think they've won 3 straight against them. Buffalo is Buffalo. And right now the playoffs in the AFC have to go through Buffalo. But since he has been there, that quarterback is cool. I kind of like what they're doing. Detroit's very impressive. I think it may be too little too late. They're 5-7. They're a game and a half back of the Commanders for a wild card. I don't know that there's enough season left for them. But my team, I think, is Cincy. They're tied with Baltimore, AFC North. Those teams will meet in the final game of the season, regular season. Whoever wins that probably wins that division. I like Cincy.
Well, you look at talent-wise, you're right on that with Cincy and everything, but if they do end up going up to Buffalo when it's 20 below and snowing, that may change the whole ball game. I like Cincy, but at the same time, I see some flaws there as well as I do in Buffalo. Buffalo is young, but one way they will make it up is in the weather.
Lions and tigers and bears. Oh, my.
Hey, we ain't mentioned those in years. That's funny, guys. And we've been having a lot of conversations today, but as you look at it, we're really just looking at how the league is evolving and how things are changing, not just at the quarterback position, but each and every position. We're looking at defensive ends that really rule the game. If the defensive end get hit in Pittsburgh, that messes their whole team up. If one gets hurt here, we got teams that come up. So everything is changing. The game is somewhat changed. So, I understand what you're saying, but one thing it comes down to, you can't win without winning with a team.
Well, Tony, jump back into the NFC East right now, because when you look down the stretch, you've got Philadelphia Eagles, you've got the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas destroyed Minnesota a few weeks back, and then they just ran over the Colts. The Colts I don't even think they showed up for the fourth quarter. But when you look at these two teams, as far as the Eagles and the Cowboys, who is the dominant? I mean, Hurts to me is the better quarterback between the two, but they both got solid running games. They both got solid defenses. So who do you anybody on here, who do you like between these two teams and why?
I like history.
Go ahead.
Because Dallas ain't won a playoff game in how long?
Forever.
I like history, especially if Philly has home field advantage. That's just my opinion.
Well, I was trying to watch the game myself, man, but I was, I didn't like Indy, but as I got to Washington, I was trained like a kid, to hate the Cowboys, and I still hate them. I don't know. Some reason, I don't know, Gary, just because you don't hear, but I always attribute it to you, man, even if you didn't do it. When I was up there in '89 and we lost against the Cowboys, they went 1-15, and I just came from LA, and I was in the locker room. Somebody was, fussing and guys kicking stuff, and I'm like, man, it's just a game. I said that to myself. I think it was Gary Clark, but dude came in my face was like, we don't lose to the Cowboys. I was like, my bad. So Donna, I hate the Cowboys. So I'm all Philly, but those guys are really playing strong. But I'd hate to play either one of them. Jalen Hurts has proved that he is a stud horse. He has gone from one program from Alabama, I think it was Oklahoma. That dude is serious, man. I think he adjusted his throwing radius or his form. He's real. Even though I don't like the Philadelphia Eagles either, I'd probably pick them over Dallas.
Well, if you take tell Tony that again, Tony? I know we were discussing this off.
Well, I'm going to give you my breakdown on it before we take this out, and I'll tell you what I look at there. Both teams are similar. They got good defense and offensive line. Hurts is so important to Philadelphia, whereas the Dallas Cowboys got more stars they can lean on. But the one thing about it with Dallas, if you run straight at them, they have a problem. You run side at the sideline, they got great speed. If you look at the Philadelphia team, they got big people up in the middle, so you have to contain their quarterback. Whoever contains the quarterback and runs the best up the middle will be the best of those teams. That's how close they are. Mm-hmm. And when we come back, we'll look at the picks. And Gary said he never bet against Brady, but he's in last place. We'll be back. I don't know what that means.
Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus Speakers Bureau offers you various opportunities to connect with former and current players along with Tony and the crew. For more information, go to redmagplus.com Speakers Bureau.
Well, as Tony mentioned, Gary is in last place. The picks are up on the board. We like to thank Fred and Cal. You know what? They was dogging me with the weights. I don't see them out there. And also, it's a tie. So that's all I know. We throwing the flag on both of you all.
Not just use simple math and science to win my argument real quick. I need 15 seconds. There are a lot of variables and factors, and it's complementary football that goes into winning games as well as championships. But then there's also something called a common denominator. So I'm gonna just leave that way. Do what you want with it.
How old are you? Kyle? How old are you?
I dare not say. We talking football. We talking football years, right?
I just want to know. How old are you? Yeah, he's young. Young people don't be thinking.
I'm just saying.
They didn't say what's on their mind. Right, they don't think the consequences. But you know what? If you take a look at this, guys, and you look at everything, that time may be the best thing that could have happened with Washington, because they still only have a game out, but they know they still have to play, and they have to look at everything they need to do. And there's one thing we do. We invite defeat by not remembering what we should remember about a game and forgetting what we should forget. So what they need to do is give up on that. Think about every game from henceforth in this season is important, and they have to win each and every game, but you can't think about them all. You only think about one. Thanks you guys for being here. Thank you fans for being here.
Y'all come back?
We'll be back next week. We'll get them back also, because I like that conversation. Donna, get some real weights next time. And one thing about it, fans, we never say goodbye. We say in the minute.
Fred, you kind of made the argument for me. You said nobody knows who his offensive line was. I maintain he's only played with one Hall of Famer. That's Randy Moss. That was for 1 year. They didn't even win it that year. This dude took lacrosse players. He took guys playing lacrosse and made them into wide receivers. He did so much with just dudes. He didn't have Gary Clark. If he had Gary Clark, Gary would have 3,000 catches.
Alex, are you a statistician? I want you to look this stat up for me. The year we won the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 26, our defense was ranked 1 or 2 in all of the defenses. All the defenses in the Super Bowl, 1 or 2. Yeah. Look at Tom Brady's defenses that he's played with. And Gary mentioned something, too, about the system. If you got great players in the system, I think Tom got hurt once. They still won. And look at the stats of how many yards he passed the ball and the receivers took the ball the distance.
So, but these and look at the difference. Danny Amendola and David
Amendola
not Jerry Rice and Gary
Edelman, Wes Walker. You put them in a different system. They're mediocre at best.
He takes these dudes that weren't good anywhere else. He makes them good. They leave, and then you never hear from them again. This dude, and then he goes to Tampa. And
you do realize they have to catch the passes, so they made him look good.
No one's taking away from the receivers.
I'll tell them.
You guys are some of the best athletes on the field. Like I said, some of the best athletes, not the best athletes on the
field. To be continued.
And here we go. I got more. Kyle, this dude, no matter who the offensive coordinator is, it changes all the time. There was a Charlie Weiss dude. There was the Romeo Crennel dude. There's the Josh McDaniels dude. There's other Bill O'Brien. It doesn't matter. I could be the damn offensive coordinator for Tom Brady.
When has the offensive coordinator ever mattered? When did the offensive coordinator ever matter?
They gotta matter. Gary, don't they matter?
Well, perfect example.
I gotta say,
even with Joe.